Watch closely. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a lesson in strategy, timing, and the undeniable power of evidence. In moments where authority is challenged, composure and preparation can decisively shift perception. Every gesture, pause, and piece of proof mattered. Keep watching, analyze the responses, and notice how influence is built, because sometimes the most powerful victory is the one delivered without a single raised voice. The room was charged with an electric tension, one that was palpable both on camera and through every live stream across social media. Karoline Leavitt's opening line had been sharp, almost theatrically cutting. She publicly mocked Jasmine Crockett as unfit, setting the tone for what she assumed would be an easy domination. The words landed with impact, but they also carried an unintended effect. Every eye in the room, every viewer at home, was now locked onto Crockett's next move. The audacity of the mockery created a moment of anticipation, a pause, pregnant with potential. A subtle pressure cooker in which reputation and credibility could be either shattered or reinforced. Crockett remained unflinching. Her gaze was steady, her body language composed, rejecting a calm authority that contrasted sharply with the theatrics of her opponent. Every micro-expression was deliberate, a slight nod to acknowledge the interruption, a measured intake of breath, a subtle tilt of the head. These small gestures, almost imperceptible, communicated confidence and control to the audience. It was a silent assertion that the narrative had not yet reached its climax. The real power, Crockett knew, lay not in immediate reaction, but in the strategic unfolding of evidence that would shift the story entirely. Leavitt, sensing the momentum of the room, tried to accelerate her attack, speaking faster, layering insults and insinuations in rapid succession. She assumed that a barrage of verbal dominance could preemptively weaken Crockett's credibility. Yet in doing so, she inadvertently exposed the structure of her own argument: thin, reactive, and easily countered. Crockett's strategy was simple in principle, but complex in execution. Allow the aggressor to reveal their reliance on theatrics, then introduce irrefutable evidence that could not be denied, twisting perception without raising her voice, and then it happened: the tape. As Crockett calmly gestured toward the playback device, the studio and viewers alike leaned in. Every second of anticipation was heightened by the knowledge that what was about to be revealed could completely reframe the conversation. The first frames rolled across the screen, subtle but damning, providing context and proof that countered Leavitt's claims of unfitness. The juxtaposition of the mockery and the undeniable evidence created a cognitive shock. The audience instinctively recognized that the narrative was pivoting. The content of the tape was precise, almost surgical in its effect. It did not rely on sensationalism, shouting, or dramatics. Instead, it presented a clear, factual sequence of events that directly addressed the points Leavitt had mocked. Viewers saw the truth unfold, layer by layer, each frame reinforcing Crockett's credibility while systematically dismantling the foundation of her opponent's assertions. It was the visual equivalent of a meticulously crafted argument: concise, undeniable, and strategically timed. Reactions were instantaneous. Social media feeds exploded with clips and commentary, each dissecting the tape, analyzing Crockett's expressions, and noting Leavitt's faltering response. The contrast between mockery and truth became a viral moment, simplifying the power of prepared evidence in real-time confrontations. Analysts highlighted that what made this segment compelling was not just the content of the tape, but the psychological interplay. The aggressor's reliance on ridicule was neutralized, while Crockett's authority surged through deliberate composure and evidence-based rebuttal. Crockett's response went beyond the immediate confrontation. She utilized the moment to reinforce broader principles of accountability and strategic communication. By allowing the mockery to surface, she demonstrated restraint, showing viewers the effectiveness of composure under pressure. Then, By revealing the tape, she transformed the narrative into a teaching moment, illustrating how preparation, evidence, and calm execution can decisively shape public perception. For Leavitt, the effect was disorienting. Her initial confidence, built on public mockery, had been undercut by the undeniable clarity of the evidence presented. The room's energy shifted subtly but unmistakably. The aggressor had lost narrative control, and the audience's alignment had moved decisively. This dynamic underscored a timeless truth in high-stakes communication. Authority is earned not by volume or theatrics, but by control, credibility, and the strategic presentation of facts as the tape played. Every element of the broadcast, the timing, the framing, the reactions combined to create a perfect storm of narrative reversal. It became evident that this exchange would be cited repeatedly as a masterclass in real-time political strategy. Crockett's execution, from calm acknowledgement to decisive reveal, illustrated a level of preparation and foresight that few could match, leaving both viewers and commentators in awe of the seamless orchestration. The segment concluded not with conflict, but with clarity. The tape had shifted the conversation entirely, turning mockery into validation and exposing the power of evidence-driven argument. Viewers absorbed the lesson in moments of confrontation. Strategic patience and precise timing can transform perceived weakness into undeniable authority. Crockett's approach would be analyzed, discussed, and shared across multiple platforms, solidifying her reputation as a communicator who could navigate complex political theatrics with unmatched poise. The moment the tape played, the momentum of the room shifted dramatically. Every subtle gesture and facial expression that Crockett had maintained during Leavitt's mockery now carried amplified weight. The audience, both in studio and online, recognized a crucial turning point. The narrative was no longer defined by ridicule, but by irrefutable evidence. This pivot created an immediate psychological impact. Viewers' attention sharpened, and the previous energy of mockery transformed into a tense, anticipatory silence as everyone processed the unfolding reality. Leavitt's earlier bravado, which had filled the studio with an aggressive dominance, began to falter under the weight of factual clarity. She attempted to interject, to reassert her narrative, but Crockett's precise timing and measured pauses effectively neutralized each attempt. The beauty of Crockett's strategy lay in its simplicity. She did not engage in reactive arguments. Instead, she allowed the tape to speak, reinforcing her credibility while subtly exposing the deficiencies in Leavitt's approach. The psychological advantage was undeniable when mockery meets evidence. Evidence prevails. Social media reacted in real time. Clips of the exchange surged across platforms, each highlighting the dramatic reveal and Crockett's composed demeanor. Analysts and commentators began dissecting the moment frame by frame, emphasizing the strategic construction of her responses. Every micro-expression, every controlled pause, every deliberate inflection became a point of study. Observers marveled at how Crockett transformed a hostile confrontation into a demonstration of tactical mastery, showing that preparation and calm decisiveness can overshadow even the most aggressive mockery. The tape itself was a masterpiece of timing and relevance. It addressed the core accusations of unfitness, providing a chronological sequence of events and verified evidence that directly countered Leavitt's claims. The content was factual, verifiable, and delivered in a manner that left no room for plausible deniability. By presenting clear evidence, Crockett forced the narrative to pivot away from subjective attacks and towards objective assessment. This not only enhanced her authority, but also exposed Leavitt's reliance on rhetoric rather than substance. Public engagement exploded. Viewers commented not just on the content, but on Crockett's poise under pressure. The segment became a case study in influence and leadership, demonstrating that real power in political discourse comes from clarity, preparation, and control, rather than volume or theatrics. Media outlets highlighted her strategy, noting that while many might attempt to overpower opponents with aggressive interruptions, Crockett showed that measured, evidence-backed responses are far more effective in commanding attention and respect. The broader implications were significant. Crockett's response did more than neutralize a personal attack. It reinforced a principle applicable to political discourse at large. The public observed a clear demonstration of accountability and strategic communication. It became evident that in high-stakes exchanges, the ability to remain composed while deploying factual evidence can decisively shape public perception. The combination of patience, foresight, and strategic timing provided an illustrative lesson on maintaining authority amidst chaos. Meanwhile, Leavitt's attempts to regain control were increasingly ineffective. Each interjection was met with calm acknowledgement and subtle redirection, highlighting the contrast between aggression and calculated response. Viewers could see, almost in real time, the dismantling of a narrative built on mockery. The tape had not only addressed the immediate accusations, but had also shifted the power dynamics within the conversation, illustrating the profound effect of preparation and strategic timing. Meanwhile, Leavitt's attempts to regain control were increasingly ineffective. Each interjection was met with calm acknowledgement and subtle redirection, highlighting the contrast between aggression and calculated response. Viewers could see, almost in real time, the dismantling of a narrative built on mockery. The tape had not only addressed the immediate accusations, but had also shifted the power dynamics within the conversation, illustrating the profound effect of preparation and strategic timing. By the end of the segment, the conversation had transformed. The focus was no longer on Leavitt's mocking claims, but on Crockett's clear evidence-backed rebuttal. Analysts emphasized that this was not merely a moment of viral attention, but a demonstration of strategic communication principles that could be applied broadly, whether in politics, business, or public speaking. Crockett had turned a potentially damaging confrontation into a masterclass of influence, control, and credibility. Moreover, the ripple effect extended beyond the immediate audience. Clips circulated across social media, sparking debates, commentary, and discussion about the power of evidence in political discourse. Public opinion began to shift, with more viewers aligning with Crockett's demonstration of authority and calm composure. This segment became a reference point for anyone analyzing political communication strategies, illustrating the enduring principle that credibility is built through facts and composure, not theatrics or volume. The combination of visual evidence, composed response, and strategic narrative control cemented Crockett's position as a masterful communicator. The audience, now fully engaged, had witnessed more than a rebuttal. They had seen a display of how effective leadership and preparation can decisively shape public perception. Even in the most challenging and high-pressure scenarios, the atmosphere had completely shifted. What began as a display of mockery had transformed into a masterclass in credibility and influence. The tape, initially a simple tool of evidence, had become a narrative weapon, reframing the conversation entirely. Viewers were no longer focused on Karoline Leavitt's attempt to dominate. They were captivated by Crockett's ability to control the flow of information, the timing of revelation, and the subtle cues that communicated authority without aggression. Crockett's next moves were deliberate and strategically layered. She leveraged the audience's heightened attention to underscore the broader implications of the evidence she had presented. Every sentence was measured, every emphasis intentional. There was a rhythm to her delivery, a cadence that contrasted sharply with Leavitt's reactive, rushed interjections. The juxtaposition highlighted a fundamental principle in political discourse. Composure and strategic timing amplify credibility, while haste and theatrics undermine it. As the discussion continued, Crockett began to expand the narrative beyond the immediate confrontation. She connected the tape's content to broader systemic issues, showing how the points of contention were part of larger, verifiable patterns of behavior and decision-making. This elevated the exchange from a personal clash to a moment of public education, where viewers could see the mechanisms of accountability and the importance of evidence-driven argumentation in real time. Social media reactions intensified. Clips and analysis began trending, highlighting Crockett's mastery in managing both a live audience and the digital public sphere. Political commentators dissected her facial expressions, timing, and delivery, noting how she had turned a potentially damaging attack into a clear demonstration of authority and control. Each pause, each deliberate look, each carefully framed statement was scrutinized and praised for its effectiveness in controlling narrative perception. Leavitt's attempts to regain dominance became increasingly transparent. Her interruptions, once a symbol of assertive control, now appeared reactive and desperate. The contrast between aggressive theatrics and measured evidence-based rebuttal became starkly visible. Viewers could observe the shift in dynamics. The power had moved decisively toward Crockett, and the audience, both in studio and online, recognized this change almost instinctively. Crockett further emphasized her points by integrating documented context alongside the tape. References to dates, statements, and factual sequences reinforced the validity of her arguments, making denial nearly impossible. By grounding her rebuttal in verified information, she elevated the discourse, demonstrating that credibility in high-stakes moments comes from preparation and facts rather than bluster. The strategic combination of evidence and calm authority transformed what could have been a simple viral moment into an enduring lesson on communication and political strategy. The broader public reaction illustrated the impact of carefully executed strategy. Online discussions erupted around the efficacy of composure under attack, the importance of preparation, and the persuasive power of visual evidence. The segment became a case study in influence and control, with multiple observers noting that Crockett had not only defended herself, but had also provided a template for effective response in hostile or high-pressure environments. That the exchange highlighted another critical element: timing. Crockett's decision to reveal the tape at the precise moment when mockery reached its peak created a narrative crescendo. The delayed reveal, rather than an immediate response, amplified the impact of the evidence, ensuring that it could not be ignored or easily countered. This timing underscored a key principle in high-stakes communication. The effectiveness of evidence is maximized when aligned with audience, anticipation, and narrative tension. Observers also noted the psychological effect on the aggressor. Leavitt, who had initially exuded confidence and dominance, now appeared visibly unsettled. Her attempts to reclaim narrative control were thwarted by Crockett's strategic pacing and evidence presentation. This dynamic created a real-time illustration of how composure, preparation, and timing can neutralize aggression while enhancing perceived authority. By the end of the segment, the audience's alignment had shifted decisively. What began as mockery had evolved into a demonstration of influence, credibility, and the power of evidence-based communication. Crockett's approach showcased a layered strategy: maintain calm, allow the opponent to reveal weaknesses, present irrefutable evidence, and then connect the moment to broader principles. The result was both a compelling broadcast and a powerful lesson in narrative control. Every frame, every pause, and every carefully structured statement reinforced a single, undeniable truth: authority is built on clarity, preparation, and strategic presentation, not on loud interruptions or theatrical dominance. Viewers had witnessed not just a rebuttal, but a masterclass in political communication, one that would be referenced repeatedly in discussions of effective strategy and influence. The energy in the room had reached its apex. What started as a seemingly routine confrontation had evolved into a dramatic demonstration of strategy, timing, and undeniable authority. Crockett's calm composure and precise deployment of evidence had shifted the momentum entirely. The audience, both in studio and online, was acutely aware that the final moves would determine not only the outcome of this exchange, but also the narrative that would persist long after the camera stopped. Rolling Crockett seized the moment to connect the evidence from the tape to a broader pattern of accountability. Every sentence reinforced the idea that truth and preparation can decisively counter aggression. She contextualized the events captured in the tape, explaining the implications not just for the immediate confrontation, but for political integrity and public perception. The room was silent, hanging on every word, as she systematically dismantled the underlying assumptions behind Leavitt's mockery. Leavitt, recognizing the turning tide, attempted one final series of interruptions. Yet Crockett's strategy had created a psychological advantage too strong to counter. Each interjection was deflected with measured acknowledgement and subtle reframing. The aggressor's energy, once dominating, now seemed reactive, desperate, and ineffective. Viewers noted the stark contrast: aggressive theatrics versus calm authority, impulsive interruption versus calculated response. This final act highlighted the enduring principle that control of narrative and perception is more powerful than volume or performance. Crockett then amplified the effect by integrating additional context and verification, reinforcing the credibility of the tape and her interpretation. By citing dates, statements, and objective evidence, she left no room for misrepresentation. The clarity of her argument was striking. It demonstrated that in moments of confrontation, preparation and factual precision outweigh improvisation and mockery. Every element of her delivery, from tone to pacing to visual cues, worked in harmony to solidify her position. The audience reaction was immediate and profound. Social media feeds flooded with clips, commentary, and analysis, each dissecting the nuances of her performance. Political analysts praised her approach as a masterclass in handling high-pressure situations, noting how she had transformed a potential moment of vulnerability into a display of dominance and credibility. The power of composure, evidence, and timing had been illustrated in real time, setting a new benchmark for strategic communication. Leavitt's final attempts to regain narrative control were undercut by the strategic structure of Crockett's responses. By the time the segment reached its conclusion, the aggressor's authority had been effectively neutralized. The audience's focus remained on Crockett, her poise, and the clarity of the evidence she presented. Every detail, from her measured breathing to her deliberate gestures, reinforced a perception of command and credibility beyond the immediate confrontation. The segment served as a broader lesson in influence and strategic communication. Crockett's approach highlighted the power of patience, evidence, and controlled delivery. By allowing mockery to surface, she revealed the weaknesses in her opponent's strategy. By presenting undeniable evidence at the precise moment, she secured not just a personal victory, but also demonstrated principles that could be applied in various contexts of public communication and leadership. As the tape concluded, Crockett delivered her final statements with unwavering clarity, ensuring the audience understood both the factual narrative and its larger significance. The confrontation, once dominated by ridicule, now stood as a testament to the effectiveness of preparation and strategic timing. Viewers recognized that this was not merely a rebuttal, but a decisive victory in the realm of public perception and narrative control. The ripple effects of the moment extended far beyond the live broadcast. Clips circulated widely, with commentators, analysts, and ordinary viewers dissecting the exchange and sharing insights about effective communication under pressure. Crockett's ability to convert aggression into an opportunity for authority and education resonated deeply, reinforcing the principle that in public discourse, credibility and strategy outweigh theatrics. By the end, the room, the audience, And the broader public had witnessed a transformation. Mockery and interruption had been neutralized by evidence, composure, and timing. Crockett emerged not only as the victor in that moment, but as a case study in leadership, strategy, and public influence. The story demonstrated that authority is constructed not through dominance or interruption, but through preparation, clarity, and strategic execution.